Hi everyone, welcome back to the question period from the webinar we had yesterday about AI in clinical orthodontics. First, I want to thank you for all the questions. They're very interesting and made me think a lot. So I'm going to try to address the questions in this little video so you can go forward depending on the questions you want answered. So let's start now. Can AI algorithms assist in identifying the need for orthodontic surgery in borderline cases? So the key term here obviously is borderline. Everybody has a different definition of borderline. But then I did a little bit of literature review for you, and there is this paper that is a review paper published in the OCR, which is Orthodontic Craniofacial Research, which I participate in a lot. So it's a very good paper, or a good journal, I should say, and it's 2024, so it's brand new. And I would argue that this would give you some idea of what is there. So this is the paper I recommend you reading. There are a lot of references in it, and it's very interesting. To answer the question, sorry, I forgot to answer the question, is yes, it can help. I would say assist and help, because the issue is, depending on this amount of data you have in your data set and how we train the AI. So if you have a lot of surgical cases, obviously you'll have this type of a curve, hopefully, which is a Gauss curve, which is normally distributed. So you would have on both sides, this would be the absolute surgical treatments that you need to be done. This would be the borderline orthodontics treatment. And then are treatments that you can definitely not do even with orthodontics. So can we train a computer or an algorithm to, as we say, find this, it's called AOC, area under the curve. This is what we do all the time in computer language, and the answer is yes, we can. The only thing is the definition of borderline. And everybody has a different definition, so that's complicated. But eventually, with more data, we'll be able to get into a much more robust prediction system, and hopefully we'll be able to decipher what we want to do. What role does AI play in 3D cephalometric analysis for orthodontic surgery planning? Again, you can read this review in Biomed Research International in 2022. It's a very good article, and it's a comprehensive review. So again, the big advantage of the AI is because as soon as you go from 2D cephalometrics, what are used to in orthodontics, we're very used to do 2D analysis, obviously, and now we do it AI assisted, but that's not the discussion. As soon as you go into the 3D world, your data increases exponentially. So obviously, where we used to, which is a 2D analysis with a few points, in 3D becomes much more complicated. And because it's complicated, many times we only use a few measurements. But letting AI, which is in this case probably machine learning, work, you could have a much more data analysis, and you could probably get predictions out of what we call correlations that are not really evident to the human eye, meaning the computer will look at many numbers, do a lot of measurements, and find correlations that may help you actually decide and plan your surgical treatment planning better by using an enhanced 3D analysis using AI. Are there AI tools that help in assessing soft tissue changes after orthognathic surgery? This is a paper. Yes, so the type of AI tools and their capabilities are there. Obviously, this is called, you can get it in CEFs, you can get it in photos. Now we even have, nowadays we have soft tissue scans, so you can get a lot of points that will help you. In this case, automatic CEF analysis right here. So you have that. You can get this software, on analyzing CB data without any problems. You can superimpose, taking a cone beam before and after and superimposing using, let's say, GeoMagic or any type of software that will allow you to assess the differences, and then you can do, we call regression. So you do a bunch of treatments, or you enter a bunch of cases into the system is trained, and then depending on the next case you will be entering, which is the new case, the computer will be able to give you a prediction of what the patient will look like depending based on older data and the training set. This one is morphable models, which is different again. It's called morphometrics. This is statistics. So basically, again, you take STLs and you do statistical models, and you have a large collection of faces. It always comes back to the same discussion, large data sets. And normally, by putting the before and after cases into these data sets, you'll be able to get some form of statistical analysis, which is basically the same as the cephalometric analysis, except this time you may use different data sets, which could be CEF, photos, facial scans, all together to give you a much better assessment of the predictability of the correction and what the patient will look like after the correction. So the CNNs, which is convolutional neural networks, are very good for facial recognition, image processing. They're all done for this. So eventually we will have these learning processes, as I said. So this, remember what we said during the conference or the webinar, this is unsupervised learning. And that's important because we're going to look at this a few questions later, why it's so important. So what you do, you pretty much enter a significant number of images or CEF or cone beams or whatever you want into this neural network. It can be structured data, it could be unstructured data, meaning it could be any type of data, STL, anything. And then what happens is you will have a division between pre and post surgeries. They may not even be the same patient, by the way. And then the CNN, which is specialized in image recognition, will learn to say, okay, if I do this, this is not going to happen. So basically the predictability of the facial changes will be enhanced by the fact that this time there is no supervised learning. It's unsupervised, but again, large amount of data is necessary. You just cannot do this with a small amount of data. And there are ways to increase data. We didn't talk about that, and I don't think it's the time today. So there are ways to multiply a data set by using specific tools. And this is what we can do. So which machines or which machine learning systems are? Materialize is a well-known, I'm going to change this for blue because it's all blue, so might as well take red. Okay, so Materialize from Belgium is a very good program. It's been with us for many, many years to fabricate all sorts of things and do a lot of prediction for orthognathic surgery. So again, it's an old software, so it's not AI based, okay? But what they do, it's like in cooking, you add spices, so they put some algorithm approaches into the system to make it more AI friendly. So the base of Materialize was designed before AI, but now they have machine learning algorithms to make it even better and to actually enhance the simulation engine. So this is a good one. It's expensive, but it's a good one. Anatomage and Simplant were together. I was not aware of that, and I think from what I understand now, 3D System has kind of bought into these two companies. Again, I don't know if there is massive deep learning modules, but according to their website, they have deep learning. Remember, deep learning means neural network. This is different. So there is supervised, unsupervised, and deep learning. So deep learning is because it has many input functions, and it has also many layers. So it's very difficult to understand deep learning computers. But according to 3D System, you can use that. And at the moment, obviously, and hopefully, and I'm sure that a lot of schools are experimenting with AI machines and AI algorithms to give us a very good, what can I say, deep learning frameworks, as they say, so having some new algorithms. But at the moment, you have two systems and academic prototypes. And then you can use this paper. It's a brand new paper, 2024, I think, Journal Clinical and Experimental Dentistry. If you're interested, I can find them for you. So it's the accuracy of AI in predicting facial changes post-orthognathic surgery. And again, what I give you this paper is because it is the first paper that allows you to do more research, because it's a scoping review. So obviously it will have a lot of references, and depending on your interest, you can choose in the references which one you want to read. Why do we have problems? We have limited data sets. So this is the predictability goes down. Predictability is inversely proportional to the size of the data set. Imaging is hard. Now cone beam is a little bit better. We have better cone beam imaging, but many times half the images are missing. And again, the big problem we have, because we're experience-based and we're trained, everybody's being trained differently, there is no gold standard. So everybody has his own ways of looking at face tissue changes, orthognathic surgery. So AI can help us, but at the moment, I think we are more into the evidence-based evaluation, or I would say experience-based evaluation. So there is, at the moment, not much I can say to say that, yes, we have very high and reliable predictors of what will happen when you do orthognathic surgeries on patients using AI algorithms. And again, that's another one too. Artificial intelligence application in orthognathic surgery. You may want to look at this one again. It's kind of generic. It doesn't give us exactly the facial changes, but probably will help you better understand what is happening. Oh, sorry, I'm going backwards. Another question, which software you recommend to do digital cephalometric analysis and to suggest treatment plans? The two I've used are WebCFX and CFX. There is another one, ODAXFAX. There must be other ones too. These are the three I know. I'm not aware at the moment, but I think I showed you a paper from Hungary that looked at an open source self-analysis software. Usually they're a bit more difficult to use. So these ones, this one, the first one I ever heard of, from Korea. CFX is from Israel, and I think ODAXFAX is from Eastern Europe. They all do the same thing. They put the points on the cephalometric radiograph, they put the lines, and they do the measurements. So this is the first AI is basically point recognition. Then the statistics come in with the self-analysis, and I said what's going on. As an example, it says suggest treatment plans. I don't think there is no. There'll be more a diagnostic help, because you just don't do a treatment plan using cephalometrics only. You need the models, you need the face, you need all sorts of other data points. So I think there is no suggestion of treatment plans, but you can get a diagnosis of the severity of the malocclusion and maybe give you some idea of predictability of correction if you use a particular mechanic. So what software for AI segmentation of condyles and how accurate is the generated model? So there are more than these three, but that's the three that I thought of. The one I use the most is this one. I don't use this anymore, doesn't mean it's bad. This one is free, so it's really good. And I think there is one called Dental Morph AI from Dr. Plaskin. I think this is Dental Morph AI. It's a very good one too. I haven't used it much yet, but I've heard good things about it. So that would be a fourth one. My preference, because I'm so used to it, is Relu. But again, I don't have shares in the company. It's just that I like to use it because it's easy. The interface is simple, and it looks like it's doing a good job of it. And why I'm saying this? Because my good friend Dr. Dot from Paris, right here, who's a very smart gentleman, has done a research testing all these programs. He's kind of a little bit biased towards the dental segmentator. Remember, this one comes from 3D Slicer. And remember, I'll repeat myself. Oops, sorry. And it's 5.7. If you don't have 5.7, it will not work. This is called an extension. So it's a mini program that you have to add to the big program called 3D Slicer. And you find it in extension. If you have 5.7, you go to add extension. It's in 3D Slicer. You will find dental segmentator, and you will be able to segment your cone beams very easily. At the moment, it doesn't segment teeth that well, but it segments jaws and mandibles very well. How reliable for AI in auto-segmentation is any situation that auto-segmentation is not working? So I said, see the paper above. They're all very good. They not do all the same things, but roughly at the end of the day for clinical application, I think it's good enough. And the problem, do we have any problems? Yes, we do. As I said during the lecture, if you introduce some form of, let's say, craniofacial anomaly or some significant, patient with very complex tooth shapes or ectodermal dysplasia as an example, where the teeth are very difficult and completely different from an unaffected subject, probably the auto-segmentation will suffer because the computer will be looking for things that are not there or things that are there in excess. So that's the problem. So yes, the training set has to be, will reflect the cone beam that you will be inserted or be entering into the program. And if your cone beam is way foreign to the program, the program will not be able to segment correctly. It's getting better because we put more and more and more and more every day. As I told you again, the first primary teeth I entered 6 or 7 years ago, the computer had no clue because they never thought of putting primary teeth. Then impacted teeth had the same problem. Then a lot of problems like this. So it's not perfect, but it gives you a very good idea. Can AI solve some of the controversy of orthognathic decision making, like extraction of wisdom teeth, surgery first, orthognathic approach, cleft alveolus bone grafting first, and ortho first approach? That's basically a good question, but it would take a long time. So I made it very, very simple. It's called experience versus data versus urban legend. What do I mean by urban legend? Well, extraction of wisdom teeth have been researched for the past 40 years. They all say that everybody has his own opinion depending on which papers you read. But a lot of people say that, as an example, third molars do not contribute significantly to relapse of mandibular incisor crowding. But the patients will still tell you that, yes, you have to get my wisdom teeth out because my teeth will become crowded if I don't do so, despite the evidence. So that's urban legend. The problem we have in orthodontics and orthognathic surgery, if you forget the urban legend, is experience versus data. we are all being trained. 99.9% of orthodontists in the world are trained by mentorship and experience. So this is the way they feel comfortable working. AI introducing a very different principle called data mining, where they don't really get experience into the equation. They just look at data and calculate and mine the data, and they get prediction, as we said. So the problem that we have is we cannot really get into the AI environment, as I said, because for these three problems, we have very limited quality evidence, lots and lots and lots of case report, but it doesn't help us much. So we would have to have a large data set again, massive data sets with significant numbers, not just it's a nice case, I like it. That doesn't work for AI. So we need a lot more data, which we don't have. So we do have it. I shouldn't say we don't have. It's not organized, which is the most boring part, by the way, of AI. It's not the exciting part of writing an algorithm and watching watch it work. Sorry, it's not doing the algorithm or programming. This is exciting, but the big deal is to accumulate the data, clean the data, and process the data, which is the most boring part of AI, and it takes a long time. Again, a lot of people, everybody has his own indication and contraindication of treatment. Many people will say, well, we don't need orthodontic surgery, I can camouflage. Other people say, no, because if you camouflage, you get all sorts of dental alveolar problems. Again, if you go to the line number one, the quality evidence is weak. So that's why we can have this discussion ad nauseum, because we can't really prove that one approach is vastly better than the other for a particular patient. So that's a big problem we have. And this is the same in medicine. And every time you get into a biological reaction to a treatment, especially involving humans, you enter in a very complex collection of data, and the interpretation is even worse. And obviously, everybody likes to do it differently. We all are the best orthodontists in the world. We all do it one way, and it's the only way. So that's a big problem. We are not able to get into a very robust clinical protocol that we treat all the patients the same. And it's, again, same in medicine. There's no difference. Everybody has his own ways of treating. So it makes the experience with, the AI algorithm have a problem, because there's so many variables, way too many variables. And the best way to do it, is called Create CDSS, which is a clinical decision support system, which is becoming very popular in medicine. They've just opened data sets, and people keep on plugging information into the data set without, again, before, afters. It doesn't really matter at the end of the day, which then are used for prediction and suggestion. So when the data set is large enough, what we said before, you can enter the world of neural network, which is unsupervised learning. Remember what I said? So now the machine can be working to grind the data, not necessarily take a decision, grind the data without human intervention, which is good and bad at the same time, but at least for statistical evidence, for bias, I think it's better. But we don't have it in orthodontics. So I got it there. So sorry, I think it came twice. Not at the moment, this is more than, can solve controversies. No, this is not it. Is it good to work with AI specialists for faster and time saving as clinicians spending time in computer? Absolutely. AI is a very, very strange word. People say, we put AI. So we put AI in iPhone, we put AI everywhere. So they make it sound like easy. It's not easy at all. It's very complicated, and it's very time consuming. And you need very specialized people. So what I'm saying here, you need, the first thing, as I said, remember, you need data scientists. We're going to mine the data, grind the data, clean the data, process the data, and then when the data has been processed and cleaned, there is a data analyst that comes in and looks at it and says, okay, it's good data, but you need to do something else to it for all sorts of reasons. And then you have another one which is interesting. The data engineer is the person in charge of implementing the algorithm that will maybe work with the data. So immediately you need highly skilled and highly trained people, and orthodontists are not even close to this because it's a profession. Then you need MLOps or machine learning specialists, operating specialists. So these machine learning people are going to be there to make sure that everything is working, everything is integrated. Obviously, you need software, computer engineers and developers and coders and compilers. All these people have to work together. And then you need clinical experts, which would be an administrator and an integrator. So you have about 6 or 7 professions working on something. And obviously, you are here, you're the clinician. So the clinician is here. You don't really want to speak to all these people on the other side. Not here, you're not going there. Too complicated. What you want is this. The integrator gets right here. And then you ask the question to the integrator that will come back, or these people will invent something or come up with an idea. They'll talk to the integrator, and then they'll talk to the clinicians. Do not try to learn the 6 professions. I think you should concentrate on what you are good at, which is orthodontics, but also talk to integrators, talk to people who understand what you need or can listen to you and transfer your queries or requirements to companies, or have companies develop products that the integrator will discuss with you. And then if you like what you see, you can adopt. Best example is 3D printing. It's 3D printing of aligners. It's, any type of, aligner software, all these things, 3D cephalometric analysis, segmentation. You don't need to do that. You don't have to understand how to do it. You just need to know what it's going to do to your clinic, how you're going to make you better, and how you're going to enjoy your profession better. And treat your patients to a higher outcome. This is what you need to know. So basically, you're going to save a lot of time. First of all, more than saving time, I don't think you'll never get there. You're going to optimize the data management. These people will tell you what they need. They will give you the innovations. And what I say here is, if you try to learn all this, by the time you get there, the line has moved forward. You just cannot keep up. The pace of change in AI is almost on a daily basis. We had a massive change today from a Chinese company that decided to come up with a specialized algorithm that is actually making the whole software industry turn upside down in one day. So you cannot follow that thing. It's impossible. Could you please explain how to communicate with computer engineer personnel when you do research or work together on this field? I feel there's a big gap of knowledge, and I do totally agree with that, between orthodontists and computer engineers. Totally right. So the steps, it's very interesting. What you write is when you write a book. First of all, you're going to write the outline of the book. You're going to write the outline of what you want to achieve. Let's say you want to do a research project on functional appliance, something, I don't know, sleep apnea, anything. So you write what you are looking for in the project in everyday language. Microsoft Word is a good one. So you basically write the story. But the problem with the story, it's hard for the computer, so you have to put outlines. So you write it in chapters. I want to, develop a product that uses polymers to advance the lower jaw and to monitor the breathing of this patient. So that would be the very rough first step. And then you have to develop everything. You have to look into the literature and develop a correct project that is actually written in an everyday language. It's not coded. Then you look at it again and you just basically put a lot of ideas in the bucket, and then you print everything and you make the statements detailed. Sorry, there is a typo. Well ordered and organized. Remember I said about data. If it's not well ordered, detailed, and organized, it's not going to work. So you make your statements very detailed. You look at them, and then what you do is you write the pseudocode. So you remove all the you make it much cleaner, I would say. You clean up what you wrote, you remove the excessive words that are not needed, because coding is not very artistic, so you have to remove the nice words. You're going to remove them. The code doesn't want it. And then what you do nowadays with AI, which is fantastic, you can use Colabs, you can use VSC, you can use Codio, you can use Cursor, you can use Copilot, doesn't matter. At the end of the day, you transfer what you do, then you go into these programs and say, this is what I want to do. Or you can even do ChatGPT, by the way, Copilot. This is what I want to do, and the computer will start writing code using all your ideas. Then you have to look at what it writes, and you have to say, I like it or I don't. This is not what I want. So you still need a little bit of coding language, like Python being the best one. You still need to understand what is going on. You don't need to know how to write the code. You need to be able to somewhat understand what's going on. Okay? This is a little bit of training. I'm not sure that a clinician would want to do that, but a researcher probably, or someone who has a project, because Python and programming is amazing to help you run your project more efficiently. There is a bit of an investment in time at the beginning. For a clinician, I'm not sure it would help, except if you have some research interests, or you want to better understand your practice, but there's a lot of work. And then what happens, this is what I usually do when I get to this level, which I do that all the time because I'm a Python. I can write Python script myself, but simple ones, not the complicated one, but I can read it really well. I contact a computer scientist and I say, listen, I give him everything. This is what I wanted to look at. I want to look at sleep apnea, the HPI index, depending on the machine I'm using, and depending on, I don't know, all sorts of parameters. And I've put this Python script together. Do you think it's going to work? And then this gentleman or lady will look at it and say, well, no or yes. But he has to understand what you're looking for. So this is what we could talk about this slide the whole day. This is basically what I do. Is I write pseudocode. Like in the moment I'm writing a biomechanics course in 3D using pseudocode with all the tooth movement and everything that I like to do. And then I will transfer it into probably Colabs or Cursor, I don't know. And then when I'm happy with this, I will send it to a computer scientist. I say, please have a look. And this is what, by the way, this is what I'm looking for. So otherwise the computer scientist will just say, okay, what do you want me to do? Okay. So exactly the suggestion, start with the clinical problem and the clinical situation. You document everything as much as you can. Over documentation is rarely bad because you can always remove some. Then you have to do measurable requirements. Don't start with a project that is way too complicated. You'll never get there. Start small. Calculate the moment to force ratio for tipping and translation. Simple. Don't start to try to understand every single tooth movement that happens at the same time during orthodontics because it's way too complicated. So start small. Okay? And then you have to learn the basics. As I told you, best thing to do is to learn at least to read Python so you can understand when the programmer calls you back saying, well, this is what it's doing. You can look at it and say, oh, yeah, but I want this. I want one more variable. I want you to test this before that. And then you say, okay, then he will rewrite the program for you. So you don't have to do it. Okay? And again, you have to do all these by constant communication. And when you have a great program, you can build, the big advantage is you can make it bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger all the time, and it becomes a really cool thing, but start small, okay? How much AI is involved in other companies such as Invisalign, Angel Aligners, is the CleanCheck AI. CleanCheck is an old software, it's 25 years old, it's not AI. But it has, again, as I said before, like Simplant and the other ones, I said it's not I think Materialize, it's not a true AI system, but obviously I'm pretty sure that the company Invisalign is using machine learning, maybe even neural networks to improve the outcome of the software. So the software by itself is just tweaked, but then they're gonna change a lot of what they do with it by just data mining what we send to them, the before, the refinement cases, the after cases. So they're going to use all this data to improve the product. So at the moment, Invisalign is an older technology because it has an old CleanCheck, which has been improved dramatically through the years, and it uses thermoform aligners, which now a lot of people are going towards 3D direct printing aligners. So I think we are basically on the and a lot of people are developing AI software. I am being one of them. Okay, so this, I have no idea what the market is going. I have no idea what Invisalign is going to do. I know Angel Aligner, which is the newest big player in the field, is also a thermoformed. I think it's basically an Invisalign, improved Invisalign, I guess. I don't know. I don't know Angel Aligners that well, so I shouldn't say anything. But according to what I've heard, there is no revolution in Angel Aligners. It's just a nice product that's doing what it's supposed to do, from what I understand. There is no specific amazing revolution with this software. So I can't comment on Angel. If other people can, that's good. Do you have a comment on the use of large language models such as ChatGPT in orthodontics? Yes, I do. I use it every day, all the time. It's fantastic for mining available data sets. So you can ask, it's all in the questions you ask. You have to have very good knowledge of what you're talking about, because it's not going to be good. So it's a great resource for mining available data sets. So you can ask questions. I don't know, talk to me about class 2 division 1 malocclusion. So the ChatGPT will talk to you for like 2 hours about it. But you have to have a knowledge about it, because a lot of stuff that is put in there is called hallucinations or partial truth and bold statements. Basically, the computer will basically tell you that this is what it is, and there is no let me check and I'm not sure. It doesn't happen. So be very careful with that, because if it's the problem we have with ChatGPT, a lot of people have no knowledge about anything. They ask the question and they take the response for granted. It's not that at all. You have to understand how to use these, and understand also that the software stops in 2023, which is only like a year and a half away, but a lot of AI technology has been invented in actually the past year. So there is stuff missing. And you need knowledge first. You have to know what you're talking about, and you just use the ChatGPT to reinforce or organize your thoughts. That's the way I use it. I don't use it to learn anything. I use it to organize my thought. I use it to say, oh, I didn't think of that. That was a good idea. And then I do more research, and I use PubMed. I use all the other conventional researches. And ChatGPT, in my opinion, plays a great role, but please do not trust it 100%. It's a well-known fact that it can be wrong. So this one is a good one too. Supervised learning has a lot of biases. So how is it going to impact the diagnosis and treatment outcome? I agree with the statement. I think we talked about it for extraction, non-extraction. So what I said is large data sets and data sharing of all cases to train neural networks will decrease the bias, but it's very hard to do in orthodontics, where the data sharing is limited and unbiased clinical research almost inexistent. So, oh my God, you may say, well, orthodontics is terrible and they are so biased, and it's not good that we do AI with the supervised learning because it's too biased. And then you go to medicine and it's exactly the same thing. That comes from the British Medical Journal, and they say most studies on machine learning-based prediction models show poor methodological quality and a high risk of bias. So small study side, poor handling of missing data, and failure to deal with overfitting is when you train your machine so well that as soon as something is not exactly in the training set, it's rejected. So that's called overfitting. So basically, you see orthodontics is terrible, but it's not any worse than medicine. So we have a big problem with supervised learning. I don't think that supervised learning should be used blindly for diagnosis, because it is basically related to the fact that whoever is doing the training has an inherent bias, and it's very hard to it doesn't. Sorry, I'm going to say it one more time. it's very hard to do good prediction with supervised learning on small data sets using only a few experts because there is a significant amount of bias. So evidently, unsupervised learning should be better with a massive amount of data. Unfortunately, in orthodontics, we don't have it. So I don't think that rejecting AI prediction is bad. You have to take them with a grain of salt and read the papers carefully to see how the machine was trained. Then they asked me for 2 free software lists to practice AI in orthodontics. I tried my best, but there is not much. So python.org, which is free, you can start with python.org for coding. So you can learn to read code, which is not easy. It's like learning a second language or a third language for some people who are bilingual already. So it takes a long time. It's very, very frustrating. You can use 3D Slicer, not the easiest program to use. It's got a lot of extension. It's open source, meaning everybody can use it. So a lot of people have added a ton of things to 3D Slicer, which is good. You have to use Slicer CMF, by the way, craniomaxillofacial extension. And remember, if you want to do the segmentation, 3D Slicer 5.7 with dental segmentator. So you have to be there. You can export, you can do a lot of things very neat with a 3D Slicer. You just have to be patient. It's not as easy as many other ones. Blender is even worse. Blender is a fantastic simulation software. It's very artistic. It's again open source, so it keeps on improving, but it keeps on getting bigger and bigger and bigger. This is the software I use. You've seen a lot of Blender technology in my presentation, but it takes me a long time to do things. And this is the one I use with Python to start training tooth movement. So this eventually being both open source software, we will have to get into a more compact, we call this compact, where you optimize the software and it will not be open source, but at least people will be able to use the software more easily because there'll be a lot less button and it will do only one little thing. If you want to play with this, it's the bottom 2. It's called Blender for Dental. It's a very good one because it takes Blender and it makes little modules where it only does one specific thing. They're still complicated, but it's better than Blender by itself. And ITK Snap is good for research. It's an open source software, same as 3D Slicer. It's for image manipulation too. And I don't think there is much in there for clinical practice, by the way. But if you want to play with AI at home, and these 4 software are already really good. Okay? They have a very high learning curve. And if you want to start with simple software to play with digital, not so much AI, the best one is Mesh Mixer. You can do a lot of good things. You can go on YouTube. They have a lot of simple things, and you would see that it's going to be fun. You're going to learn to manipulate images with Mesh Mixer, which is super important. Like filling holes and moving teeth and doing tons of stuff with Mesh Mixer, segmentation. None will be good for your clinical treatment, but you will get so much better. I still use Mesh Mixer a lot. I love it. And Blender for Dental, as I said, and Blue Sky Bios are basically setups that will allow you to do simpler manipulations, like implant guides, or aligners. I think Blue Sky Bio has aligners. Blender has articulators. So you can buy these modules and you can use them. They're much easier, but they're limited because they only do one thing. It's like machine learning. It's like an application. Can AI learn enough to be used to invent another system of orthodontics by itself? Okay, this one is a good one. I have no idea. I have no concept. I don't know. But I tried my grain of salt. AI is there to improve our outcomes by using data mining to complement the experience-based treatment we have. So at the moment, I think it's more assisted intelligence. These algorithms and all these systems or software are there to help the clinician. I don't think there is no replacement, or there is no invention of a parallel system. If you pushed it, I try to think about it, is probably the introduction of seamless integration of computers. It's called an API, which is an integration program. It's an interface It's an application program interface where you put a ton of software into a box and the API uses only what it needs. The best example that an API is AWS from Amazon. It's a good API. It has many software and you take what you need, but you have to be very good at it. So you need computer vision, you need neural networks, you need appliance integration, monitoring, and robotics. And then they all have to work together. It's basically like a self-driving car. Self-driving car was supposed to revolutionize driving. It's after 10 years, it's still not there. So I would argue that we are in the same ballpark. I think teeth are moving through bone in a very specific way. There is not two ways, AI or not, to move teeth around, but probably we can still improve the way we approach orthodontics, but it's not going to replace us. I don't think so. So to finish, could you please share the site of the company doing segmentation you're working with now? I got two. I got 3dslicer.org and I got relu.eu. Tell them I sent you. Maybe they'll give you a better deal. I don't know. 3D Slicer is free. It's hard to use. Relu is, I think you have to pay something. You can import your files and have the segmentation for free. But if you want to download it, you have to pay, which is not a huge amount of money. But I think it's easier than 3D Slicer, way easier. But you have to pay for it, and there is less functionality. So if you're a researcher, I would say go through 3D Slicer. If you are a clinician, go with Relu. It's much easier. So how much data was required as training set for your virtual model? Well, first of all, my virtual model is still a prototype. We are still in training mode, using Python code to train the Blender software. And I need help from, exactly as I told you, now I need computer scientists, I need data miners, I need a ton of people to help me if we're going to be a fully operational algorithm, the virtual model. At the moment, it's still with the two friends working together at night. So we're not going very fast, but it's working. So we're in the training phase. The other one I do for the NIH is the panoramic radiograph data set for computer vision, but I have 3 engineers working on that, helping me, which immediately makes my life a whole lot easier. And we have 1,000 panorexes to start with. Eventually, we'll hope for more, and we're looking for TMJ dysplasia recognition. So basically, the panorex, which is a low-level radiograph, will be able to help in the diagnosis of TMJ issues that maybe the human eye cannot recognize. So that's a project, but again, this one is 100% paid by the NIH. We have a bunch of engineers on it, and that makes my life so much easier. I just came up with the idea. I wrote the project, as I told you, remember? I wrote the pseudocode. I wrote everything I wanted. The computer engineer came up with, oh, you want to do this? You want to do that? Yes, this is it. Showed me the code. I had no idea what she was talking about. And then she explained, and then I was able to understand, because she didn't use Python, she uses something else, which is a problem. So anyways, I want to thank you for your attention again. Oh, sorry, the extension for 3D Slicer is 5.7, and Dental Segmentator is the extension you are using to segment the cone beams. Thank you very much, and hopefully you enjoy the seminar. Bye-bye.